Thank you for coming to my presentation. I will first have to apologize that I could not present this paper in person to you. I also appreciate the kind understanding of the conference organizer who allowed me to video record and present my paper this way. Thank you so much. Hi, I am Sang-Kyun Kang, a postdoctoral research associate at USC Metron's Transportation Center. So this is a quick summary of the paper. With a case study of warehousing location choice in Los Angeles, I aim to understand how and why warehouses have decentralized from central urban areas to urban outskirts. I examine and compare past and recent location choice of warehouse developers in Los Angeles, California, United States. I found that location factors of the past are different from the factors for the recent warehouses. The findings have an implication that there has been a trade-off between facility and transport costs. I will explain you what warehousing decentralization is. So warehouse is a facility that provides warehousing and logistics services. It is an intermediary that connects supply chains and also is part of the logistics industry. Warehousing decentralization has been studied in terms of two spatial organizations. The first is the movement away from the central urban areas, and the second is the clustering of activities in small areas. So with two maps, I will explain how the warehousing industry has decentralized in Los Angeles. This is the first map that shows the density of warehousing facilities, but those built between 1951 and 1980. Warehouses are generally clustered near the urban center, the seaport system, and traditional industrial areas. This map shows the location of warehousing facilities built after 2001. New facilities have been built in places farther away from central locations. We call it the Inland Empire, where active logistics businesses are present. So why do location patterns change? The two main drivers are restructuring logistics industry and increasing land values in the central urban area. The supply chain has been restructured and geographically dispersed. Companies want to sell their products not just to a local market, but to national and global markets. It was possible because of the decreased transportation and transaction costs, thanks to the advances in information, communication, transportation, and logistics technology for goods movement. The goal has become transporting large volumes of goods quickly, cheaply, and reliably. Our rational reaction of the warehousing sector was to build modernized, larger facilities on the urban peripheries, where a large amount of cheap land was available and business environments are more favorable. But why should we care? First, over the last decade, warehousing industry has expanded significantly relative to the growth of the entire US jobs. Foreign trade has increased more than 4 times than the population growth. Warehouses are major truck trip generators. Therefore, their location change further from markets implies potential increase in truck travel and associated impacts, such as congestion, fuel consumption, air pollution, and so on. The research gap is large. Our knowledge is very limited. There have been several papers which examine warehousing decentralization in several parts of the world. Also, we know the location choice factors for warehouses, which are land rent, land availability, access to trade nodes, and labor force, access to markets, provisionist regulatory environment. But we don't really know whether the location choice logic has changed over time along with restructuring logistics businesses. There just has been theoretical discourse only so far, and no systematic testing of any factors yet. Data problems might be attributed to the research gap. The samples are limited and methodologies are crude. I will present the research approach. So this paper looks at the determinants of warehousing location choice to understand how and why warehouses have changed location over time. They are moving from central urban areas to the urban periphery. So I first look at the factors that logistics operators would consider when they make location decisions for their warehousing facilities, and then evaluate the changes in location along with the changes in location choice factors. I specifically focus on large warehouses because they have changed location the most, and large warehouses are the main player of warehousing decentralization. The rationale is that a warehouse is a business entity and it seeks productivity enhancing location attributes. With the restructuring logistics industry, larger and smarter facilities have become necessary. And these facilities are all located in the locations where new operation goals can be fulfilled. It is structurally similar to firm location choice studies or random utility models. I use the method where facility and location characteristics influence the profit, and location choice is made if the profit is maximized. Therefore, the probability of a warehousing developer to choose a location is a function of the type of facility and the character of the location. So the design is, as discussed, we know the logistics restructuring has changed spatial distribution of warehouses. So I will compare the location factors over time. And we also know that warehouse size increased and it also resulted in location changes. Therefore, I will use an interaction dummy of facility size. I use 4 main location factors: land prices, proximity to local markets, proximity to trade nodes, and labor force access. I will explain that later. And as a choice set, I use census tracts with at least one warehouse in the Los Angeles region. And there are 660 census tracts. Rather than examining the location choice of all options, I assign 9 random alternatives to each actual choice to form 10 choice alternatives. And this method has been widely used in transportation mode choice and school location choice studies. As for the location factors, I use population and employment densities as a proxy for land price. Labor force access is a sum of population with an inverse travel time weight. And to account for the polycentric urban structure of Los Angeles, I first identified multiple employment subcenters and then calculated travel time to the nearest subcenter. And I use airport, seaport, intermodal terminals, and highways as trade nodes. In this map, I show the location of employment subcenters, airports, seaports, and intermodal facilities. As you can see, there are multiple clusters where jobs are highly concentrated, and I use 3 cargo service airports, 1 port complex, the Port of Los Angeles and Port of Long Beach all together, and 7 rail-to-truck intermodal terminals. The warehousing location data are from CoStar, a real estate database that includes industrial real estate listings. The database provides a rentable building area, year of construction, and so on. It also provides each facility's address, and using the address, I can identify the exact location. And this database provides a relatively complete view of the current market situation, but it is limited in that those facilities demolished or left the market are not available. So it is the current view of the market. Given that warehouses are profit-driven entities of continuous business decision-making, and thus we may assume that the current location approximates their optimal location. Therefore, the location attributes of 2016 may be most relevant to the current distribution of warehousing facilities. In this paper, I use 5,300 listings of logistics facilities, and I set the minimum rentable building area as 30,000 square feet, which is about 3,000 square meters. The built year ranges from 1951 to 2016. Here is the sample distribution. I use 3 time periods. The first period is from 1951 to 1980. The second from 1981 to 2000. The third from 2001 to 2016. I also divided samples into 3 size classes, and all size divisions are based on sample distribution. As you can see, there is a correlation between size and built year. So most small facilities are built in the earlier period, and most large facilities are built in the recent period. So I run separate multinomial Lawson models by built year period and compare estimated parameters across the time period. And I also include building size interaction dummies in model 2. This is the spatial distribution of warehouse samples. Warehouses are clustered in downtown Los Angeles, port areas, Ontario Airport, and multiple locations with highway access. And these 2 plots show percent distribution by built year and by building size. 3 locations with high concentration are identified. The first pick is traditional industrial and port areas, and old small warehouses are mostly there. The second pick is near Ontario Airport, and this location has become popular from the second period, and larger warehouses are more common in this place. The third pick is San Bernardino and Riverside. This is a fairly recent development, and most warehouses are in the largest size category. And with these plots, we verify warehousing decentralization, and it involves significant facility size changes. And I will show you the model results. I included this table here in case there is a question, but for now I will skip to the summary. This is the next part of the table. So model results consistently show that both the building size and time variables are significant factors to explain the variation in the warehouse location choice. The location choice of the warehouses built in 1951 to 1980 is different from that of the facilities built in 2001 to 2016. And at the same time, the location choice of small warehouses is distinguished from that of large warehouses. Land price attributes as a proxy for land prices work in opposite ways. The effect of population as a push factor increased, whereas the effect of employment as a pull factor diminished. And it is understood that warehouses have moved more and more away from the general population, but have also moved out of traditional industrial areas. So the association between warehouse and employment has decreased. Labor force access has been a significant factor over time, And local market proximity and seaport proximity are two significant deterrents for warehouses built after 1980s. On the contrary, airport proximity and intermodal terminal proximity are two important location determinants, particularly for larger warehouses built recently. So lastly, conclusions and discussion. In this paper, I documented different location preferences by facility size and time period. Overall, the transition in the effect of location attributes on warehouse location choice is as expected, that recently built large warehouses have been established in locations with lower land prices, lower access to local markets, yet better access to airport and intermodal terminals. This finding suggests a potential decrease in facility and inventory costs from the lower land prices, economies of scale, and inventory consolidation. Savings in transport costs are not clear because warehouses moved away from local markets to trade nodes. The savings might depend on the function of a facility within goods supply chains, but it is unknown. I documented a significant concentration of the warehousing activity in a small area. I also expect another shift in warehouse location because the recent growth in e-commerce and online shopping has put tremendous emphasis on delivery speed. Therefore, it is important for planners and policymakers to clearly understand and prepare necessary policies for the future demand of warehousing space, location, and operations. And here are references that I mentioned in this presentation. And if you have any questions, please send me an email. I'm happy to give answers to your question. Thank you so much.